Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rachak Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Malachi, the 4th chapter. And, in this chapter, it's pretty short, straightforward, but, it does touch upon, some prophecy and also, at least at this time, right? And also reincarnation. Okay, so let's go into it, and Lord willing to be edifying to the elect. Now, this is the book of Malachi, chapter 4, verse 1. For behold, the day cometh, that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly, shall be stubble. Now, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. When Malachi was saying this, right, as it is written here, this isn't something that was metaphorical per se, right? Meaning that it does represent it's signifying that there's going to be a day that's going to be extremely hot, but in the manifestation of that is going to be a fulfillment of prophecy that is not only here in the book of Malachi, but pretty much all throughout the writings of the prophets, right? Going and dealing with World War III and the thermonuclear destruction, right? And that's also one of these prophecies that's going to take place. That, okay, is what's going to cause that day to burn as an oven, okay? And there's many precepts on it. One that comes to mind, since I'm already here in Isaiah 9, is Isaiah 9 and 5. It says here, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Okay, and that's that. This is going to be that World War III, which isn't going to be fought with, swords and elephants and all that. It's going to be more modern technology, right? Which is going to be those nuclear missiles. So that's what's going to cause this day to burn as an oven, to be real hot. Yea, all that do wickedly, which involves Israelites, right? Israelites that are doing wickedness. And you're going to also have Edomites and some of these other nations that get caught up in here, right? Shall be stubble. And when you go into the word stubble, it is, I believe it's similar to like hay, right? It says quash, stubble or chaff, right? So if we just look up what that looks like here, you'll see stubble. Okay, chaff. Let's do that. Plant. And let's take a look at some images. Okay, I didn't want the plant. I wanted the actual. There you go. This is chaff. So it sort of looks like the husk, of the grains, right? And that's that right there. And this that catches fire quick, can easily be burned, right? So that's why here the those that do wickedly are likened onto chaff, meaning they're going to be burnt up. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Okay, so you can imagine, right? The example being used here. So imagine in the ancient world, after the time of the harvest, the reapers have done their thing. You've threshed the grains, you've gotten the grains out, and now you have the husk remaining. And then you then say, okay, well, I got, you have your oven, the fire's going, you already have the husk. You can just throw that in there, burn it up a little, get rid of the husk, number one, and give the fire a little fuel. But here that example is likened onto the people being the stubble or the husk, and the time of that destruction being like that oven that you would throw it in there to burn it up. And as it says, in that day the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. So it's gonna completely burn them up. Now, in terms of prophecy, right, we know places. One of the main places, right, being Babylon the Great, is going to be completely annihilated, right? Not it's just going to be sand, desert, right? After that fire and that smoke eventually calms down. Verse 2, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise. So to those that do wickedly, this is what's going to happen to them. But unto those of you that fear the name of the Lord, right, that honor and follow the ways of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. The Son of Righteousness is Yahushai, okay, the Messiah. And as it says, with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. So this is prophetic, right? So meaning when the Lord comes back, you're going to have a portion of individuals that are going to suffer that loss via being destroyed. But you're going to have those, the remnant, the elect, that are going to be healed, right? The scriptures talk about the renewing, all right, of our strength. What is this? I think this is Isaiah 40. Let's see. Yeah, Isaiah 40 and 31. But they that wait upon the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and a part of that waiting is not just sitting there idle, right? But you're keeping the patience, the faith, right, and doing the work of the Lord while waiting for the Lord. So they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, and that's a part of renewing your strength comes with healing. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. And that goes into spiritual power, right? Which is going to come with when the Lord comes and renews our strength and delivers us, aka healing us, right? It says, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Okay, and this is just a metaphorical way of saying that we're going to be, you know, as it says here, as calves of the stall, we're going to be youthful, and we're gonna be nurtured, right, to grow up properly, you know, to be taken care of. And this is ultimately going to be fulfilled, right, in the kingdom when the Lord comes, starting with when Yahushua comes back. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this. So once again, also tagging on to that previous analogy here as the calves of the stall. Now, then it goes on to say, ye shall tread down the wicked, right? So now, continuing on that analogy here, or that reference here, a part of the ways that they would thresh, right? When you had a threshing floor, you had a couple of ways that you would thresh the grain or the sheaves to separate the stubble or the chaff from the actual grain that you would then grind for bread, flour, whatever, right? And you had threshing floors, and you had people that would beat the sheaves, right? Literally smash it so that they could break up. And other times you would have oxen or cattle or whatnot trample upon it, and by them trampling upon it, their hooves would continuously trampling upon it would eventually cause those sheaves to break up, separating that husk and the grain would then be collected. So here, the Lord likens the elect here, right, the remnant, to these calves growing up in the stall, and then continues, right, to liken the and this is also in a reference of this is also in is it Micah 4? Let me just check for confirmation. Micah 4 and around the 13th verse or so. Yep, there you go, right? It basically deals with the same thing about the Lord gathering these nations, right, as the sheaves onto the floor, the threshing floor that is, and then likening Israel onto you know, like this oxen that has these brass hooves that's gonna tread down upon these people, like the ox would do in the past upon the sheaves. So that's why it says here, right, and he shall tread down the wicked, as if they were those sheaves or that grain you were trying to get out. For they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. And that's also spiritual, right? Because yes, you know, a representation of the Lord raising us up, right, and putting them down, and here primarily starting with the Edomites, right, and then the rest of the nations here. they're going to be trodden down, they're going to be put under us. But in a actual literal sense, in the day that the Lord does this, where that day where it burns as an oven, literally what you are going to have is the elect, or that remnant, pursuant to Revelation 15:2, are going to be actually up in the heavens, right, in the chariot, and below them, under the soles of their feet, below them is actually going to be the burning, okay, of the wicked here. Okay, so in this sense, you can also even see that picture being painted here, as it says, "They shall be ashes under the soles of your feet." Ashes is because they're going to be getting burnt up. And why under the soles of the feet? Because the remnant here are going to be up. Okay, another precept for that is also Isaiah. It's that 20. Let's go there real quick. Isaiah, I think it's 26:20. Yeah, Isaiah 26:20. "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee." The chambers here are the chariots, right? Today they're called UFOs, and people have all sorts of speculation about them. But soon enough, they'll understand the one of the main purposes that they're going to serve as this destruction unfolds. "Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast." That indignation is going to be what's causing that day to burn as an oven, because that indignation, that anger of the Lord, is going to be by which he's going to bring that destruction upon the earth. So by us being beamed up into those chariots, right, by no one will be of the elect, we're going to be hidden from that. All right. And that's the main point I wanted to get. So going back to Malachi, by the elect being up there, below them is going to be the rest, especially here on the soils of Babylon, that are going to be getting burned up. All right, it says here, verse 4, "Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments." Why? Because guess what? You have people that talk about the law being done away with X, Y, and Z, but the Lord is still going to come down and he's still going to judge. But the only difference now is salvation is not going to be based upon the law, but it doesn't mean that you have the right to go ahead and sin willfully and transgress those with that in mind. The beauty in what Yahushua did was to give us another avenue, knowing that we wouldn't be perfect, in keeping these laws. So the Lord gave us another avenue through Yahushua. But that's a different case for individuals who neither want to follow the ways of the Lord, neither want to follow through Yahushua, and instead they want to just willfully go ahead. 2 Ezra 9, the 9th chapter, talks about that. "When as yet a place of repentance was open unto them, they regarded it not, but despised the ways of the Lord. The same must know it after death by pain." So, verse 5, it says, "Behold, I will send you." Now, remember, at the time of Malachi, right? Let's set a couple of things here. Let's go here to Malachi, the prophet. Okay. So we have Malachi over here, and let's see a little bit as to what we can get about here. Malachi, also known as Malachias, is the name used by the author of the book of Malachi, the last book of the Nevi'im, section of the Tanakh. According to the 1987 Easton's Bible Dictionary, it is possible that Malachi is not a proper name because it simply means messenger. Many assume it to be a pseudonym. Jewish tradition states that the real identity of Malachi is Ezra the scribe. Oh boy. I just want the time period here, man. Okay, let's see. All right, so long story short, they place Malachi, right? It's generally agreed upon that Malachi is placed around the time not too long after Nehemiah, right? So as we went through the book of Nehemiah, we know on a high level this is around the time of the Persian Empire. All right. This is around the time of the Persian Empire, so you can have some mental tracking as to around when this is happening. But that gives us enough to go off of here. So we know that Elijah, when he came on the earth as Elijah, right? When you read in the book of Kings, that was way before this time of Malachi. So at this point in time, Elijah as Elijah is like, he was, here he had already died. Okay. So here when the Lord says, I will, that's future tense, I will send you Elijah. Elijah has already lived and died. But the Lord is saying here, he's going to send him back, right? I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. That is to say, the Lord is going to send Elijah the prophet back on the earth again. Okay. Why? So that he, and verse 6 is going to tell us why. Okay. But he would send him back here again to prophesy, to do what he, to do what he did really in the past. Okay. Before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Now, obviously, the nature of reincarnation, as we know in the scriptures, right, is that once you die, every about 3 to 4 generations, you get reincarnated and come back on the earth. And one of those times in which Elijah came back, which was also key, was during the time of Yahushai. Okay, which, let's go there real quick, because then the Lord actually told the disciples this. Okay, so you have individuals that say, oh, you guys are making it up. Well, what did the Lord mean by that then? And then they tried so hard to try and explain it away, but it's to no avail, because you cannot you can't take what the scriptures say and then say, nope, that's not it, and then you don't have any valid proof. This is Matthew chapter 11, and I'm going to go up to verse 9. And it's in red letter. So this was the Lord Yahushai speaking, okay, concerning John the Baptist. So it says here, but what, and when we read in Malachi 3 in the beginning, right, it mentioned that he was going to be sent, right, that a messenger was going to be sent who will prepare the way. And then it explicitly tells us in Malachi the 4th chapter who that messenger is. So it says here, Matthew 11 and 9, but what went ye out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. Verily I say unto you, and we read that in Malachi 3. Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and that kingdom of heaven suffering violence, and the violent taken by force, was referring to, at this point in time, when he said the kingdom of heaven, he's referring to the Israel, right? And in particular, the southern kingdom here at this point. And they were suffering violence because we were under the rulership of the Romans, right? Judea had become a province under the Romans, and by being that way, there was a lot of sort of this taxation, being taxed and so on. And that's why occasionally you would have these revolts to try and come against the Romans, to no avail. But anyway, and the violent take it by force, which is what happened. But now, focusing on the key part, for all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if ye will receive it, remember, this is the Lord Yahushai speaking, right? If you will receive it, so if you can understand this in the spirit, who is that this? John. This John is Elias, which is just another way of saying Elijah, which was for to come, meaning it was prophesied that he would come back on the earth. That time when Elijah would come back on the earth, in this case, was John the Baptist. It doesn't mean that from the time that Elijah died, his spirit never came back on the earth up until John. No, He came back in different times, just like all of us. It's just that the key moments that were highlighted, where it was identified that this individual is Elijah coming back, was one, during the time of Yahushua, which we're reading of here, and two, during our time now. All right, which we'll get into as we go back to Malachi 4. So I just wanted to get that point there, right? That in Malachi 4 and 5, when it says that I will send you Elijah the prophet, right before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, Elijah did come on the scene during the time of Yahushua, which we just went to over here in Matthew 11, to prove that point of reincarnation, because the way the Lord was going to send Elijah back was going to be reincarnation. So that's that same spirit that was in the body on the earth known as Elijah came back on the earth in a different body known as John. Still the same spirit though. Okay, and that's why the Lord proceeded to say, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. So those of you that can receive it, right, if your spiritual ears have been opened and you can receive it, go ahead, right? But not everybody was going to understand that, which is why he said this. Having said that, going back to Malachi 4 and 5, this is not referring to the time of Yahushua, right? And we know that because it says he would be sent before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. At the time of Yahushua being on the scene that we just read here in Matthew, that wasn't the great and dreadful day of the Lord. The great and dreadful day of the Lord is in the time period we're living in now. Okay, so though Elijah did come back on the scene and was identified as John the Baptist back then, that wasn't the fulfillment here of Malachi 4 and 5, because that wasn't the time of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. But Elijah the prophet did come back again and was identified again in this time, right, by who we believe through the Spirit and through faith to be the one of the elders of our elders, right, Elder Abba Bivens. Okay, and we believe that to be Elijah coming back again, or John the Baptist coming back again, however you want to think about it. And this time fulfilling Malachi 4 and 5, because now we are witnessing, right, the fast approaching of that great and dreadful day of the Lord, which is going to consist of that time of Jacob's trouble leading into the nuclear destruction. Now, why would the Lord send Elijah the prophet before that time? And what was he to do? Verse 6, and he shall turn the heart, meaning the minds of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Okay, so why did the Lord have to send Elijah in this time? Because it was going to be by him, which when you look at all the lessons we're doing now, right, we learn from our teachers, they learn from their teachers, they learn from their teachers, right? And it sort of goes up that cycle, but eventually you get to the point where you find out, oh, up at this point you had Elder Abba Bivens, right, or Elijah coming back, and from then on down you had the actual truth, the correct understanding of the scriptures start to come out and be refined more and more up until the point where we have it today. Okay, so the Lord used him to start that cycle of the waking up of us, the teachers, okay, and the prophets, who would also be likened unto the fathers, to the rest of the elect who are not teachers, right, but who are listeners, men, women, and children, the sheep, in other words, okay, who would be likened unto the children here. All right, and why is this necessary? Because prior to that, we didn't know the things we know now, and if we remained that way, we would have been destroyed, right? Because we wouldn't repent, we would continue on our wicked ways. The Lord wouldn't have, like, the understanding, the correct understanding of the mark of the beast. How would we have received that? And if we didn't receive that, then what would have stopped us from going to take it? See, so the whole point is there's this cycle that started, right, by the Lord bringing Elijah back, and then he taught those that were directly under him, right? You have some of the notable men, which are always referenced, right, even by our elders, right, like King Masha, High Priest Ariah, High Priest Yaquab, and so on and so forth, right, even down to the elders that we have here today. Okay, so these learned These men learned from Elijah when he came back, okay, and then they went out and taught, and more teachers and more of the elect woke up. So now dealing with verse 6 here, the heart or the minds of the fathers to the children, meaning that once the word started going out, and once the prophets, right, which are the first fruits or the chief of the nation, which are also likened unto the fathers, once they heard this word, what became your priority, right? Where was your mind then turned towards after you heard the word and you learned and you started to be able to know how to break down scriptures? Then you went to teach, but who were you teaching? Those that didn't know, the sheep, right? The listeners, which are likened unto the children. So now our minds, right, even now, are towards them to edify and to feed them. And that's what Yahushua told the Apostle Peter, right? If you love me, feed my sheep or feed my lambs. Okay, and then also vice versa, because now you have the sheep, right, or the listeners, which are of the elect, and they would be the true children. Okay, their minds are towards us, listening and learning. And the Lord did it this way, continuing in this verse, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse, because this is necessary or needful so that the elect can be prepared, right? Promoting one another unto good works, but we could be prepared, Lord willing, we be of that number for the coming of the day of the Lord, for when he actually smites the earth with a curse, because he will. But when he does, the elect will be in a state to where they can be delivered, calling upon the name of the Lord, knowing what to abstain from, knowing what to do and what not to do, and knowing the way of salvation, right? As the scriptures say, thou hast had that, roughly paraphrasing, the wisdom or the knowledge that is able to make you wise unto salvation. Okay. And that pretty much, sums up Malachi, the 4th chapter. So really, when you look at it, though it's only a few verses, it does cover quite a lot, right? From the destruction to come, in terms of prophecy, to the return of Yahushua to deliver and to heal his elect, okay, to the consequence of the wicked that don't take heed to the message of the Lord, to the reincarnation of Elijah coming back to warn really warn us, right, and set off that sort of that chain of awakening to prepare the elect into a state that they can be delivered. And that brings us to the end of the book of Malachi, the 4th chapter, and the book of Malachi in itself. And Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash, and until next time, Shalom.